All right, so this is going to be my ranking 1 through 32 of every team's receiving grouping. Now, what is a receiving grouping? It is if you're a wide receiver or if you're a tight end. That's what this is accounting for. Tight ends blocking ability not a part of this, only their receiving ability. So yeah, let's just get into it. This is an important tier. Wide receivers and tight ends I have as the second most important position grouping in football. So yeah, we'll get things started and we'll start things off with the bottom and work our way up. All right, so here we are with the bottom five. So tier five is the bottom five. So you have the Lions, the Eagles, the Colts, the Saints, and the Jets. The Jets are a team that they feel differently, right? And we're going to see some in doing this. There are some teams that don't really feel like tier five. It should be tier four. But I wanted to do it this way of making sure every team, if there's tier five is bottom five, making sure there's five teams there. I could have done it differently, but that's the way I wanted to do it. Because I do like Corey Davis. I do like Denzel Mims, Jamison Crowder, Elijah Moore. But how many of those guys are like elite number one guys? I just don't know. You have someone like a team like the Saints, who they obviously have Michael Thomas, but they don't have him right now. And who else do they have? Callaway apparently is like a god, but we'll see how that really works out. So, Colts, there's not a ton of talent there. I think we all know that. I like Michael Pittman. Again, all these teams have guys I like. Devonta Smith should be good for the Eagles, but what else do they have? Do we really trust Travis Fulgham to be a number two receiver? I don't know, because he did have a hot start to 2020, but then kind of cooled off. They have good tight ends, though, as well. I like Dallas Goedert. Zach Ertz wasn't good last year. Maybe he'll bounce back. Maybe he's washed up. I don't know. And then for the Lions, TJ Hawkinson is their guy. They're here at 32. He's the guy who they're just going to throw it to constantly. They added Amon-Ra St. Brown. They got guys like Tyrell Williams, so it's solid, but as a whole, this is not a great receiving core. So that's why they're all tier five. And also worth mentioning, if you think, wait a second, the Lions should be ahead of the Colts, right? I don't really look at it that way. I do. I didn't make it intentionally this way, but I paid much more attention to who's going to be in each tier. If, the Colts, you could argue to 32. Maybe if I really looked at it, I would change it. But the most important thing for me was getting all these teams into the right tiers as opposed to the right placement itself. So tier four, there's 6 teams in tier four. So just so you know how it works, 5 teams in tier 1 and 5, 6 teams in tiers 2 and 4, and tier 3 is the rest of them. So a lot of teams in tier 3. But I had the Jaguars, who again, they have talent. It was between them or the Jets for that final spot. I like DJ Chark. I like Marvin Jones Jr. I like Laviska Shenault. But again, I'm not sure how much high-end stuff they have. And it's sort of similar with the Raiders, where John Brown, Henry Ruggs, Hunter Renfrow, Brian Edwards apparently has had a good camp. Like Willie Snead. Obviously, Darren Waller is awesome. But how much do we really expect them to, again, the real issue is just there's just a ton of receiving talent in the NFL. So you kind of need like a true number one guy, Texans, another team, they have good players. They're kind of similar to the Raiders in that regard. Maybe I could have the Raiders ahead of them looking at them now, but that's where I have them. Same thing with the Ravens. They're kind of in that similar boat of a lot of players I like. I think Rashad Bateman, when healthy, should be good. Sammy Watkins, if he can stay healthy, should be good. Marquise Brown. Those are all guys I think could easily be like, maybe not number ones, but number twos, and 3 number twos plus Mark Andrews. That's a good receiving core. But again, it's not good enough to be tier 3. Patriots, similar. I like their tight end tandem with Henry and Smith. But then again, they lack the high end talent. And the Falcons, I nearly had as tier 3. They're only one spot below. Love Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley's awesome. He's going to have a breakout season. Kyle Pitts, he's a rookie, and rookie tight ends take some time to develop. I like Russell Gage a lot. I think Russell Gage is underrated. To me, he can easily be a number 2 guy. And Tajay Sharp, not a bad number 3. And then moving on to tier 3. So 31, it's, these were different with the Bears and the Falcons. You could have kind of gone either way. I think Cole Kmet and Jimmy Graham are probably better than a first-year Kyle Pitts. They won't be better than a third-year Kyle Pitts, I don't think. But that's just going off of rookie tight ends take a while. And I'd probably go with Allen Robinson over Calvin Ridley right now, although I do think it's close. You could argue either one. I think Darnell Mooney, people are excited about. I'm not sure how excited I am, but there's some talent here. A lot of it is Allen Robinson. If they didn't have him, they'd be falling way down. Number 20, the Cardinals, very similar. DeAndre Hopkins might be the best receiver in football, but who else do they have? The Panthers are a little bit different, so I would say that this is a team that has more depth and I think a little bit better than some of those tier 4 guys like Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore. I think Terrence Marshall should be really good. I think those 3 guys, they have 3 number 2 guys, if not number 1 guys there. So they're kind of like those. They're not. To me, a true number 1 receiver is like a top 20 receiver, but these guys are like in that like 21 to 40 range. I would say even Marshall, I think, can already be there. I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the season he is. The Chargers, Keenan Allen is very good. Obviously, they got Mike Williams as well. Jared Cook, I think, could be a sneaky good addition. Just make sure he holds onto the football, doesn't fumble it. That was the real issue with the Saints. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they're another team. A lot of good players. Do they have that elite talent? I don't know, but they have a lot of good players. And in the Packers, again, this is a theme with these tier 3 and 4 teams is typically you have teams that are either, a lot of good players, but not the elite guys, or one elite guy and then not too much around it. With, the Packers, Devontae Adams here, obviously awesome, but who else do they have, really? I mean, you have Amari Rodgers, but like, is he going to jump out and be great? Maybe, but I don't know. They have guys who I feel like could all be starting players, but are they a true wide receiver 2? You might need Robert Tonyan to be that guy, which he is good, and that's why they're middle of the road right here in a difficult position, but that's still why I have them here. The Bengals, there's, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins. So you got a lot of talented but young guys. I think that they'll all play well. I'm not worried about Jamar Chase's drop issues. I think he'll be fine. And even a couple good tight ends as well. So again, they got a lot of players, but will Chase be that number 1 receiver right away? I don't know. But even if he's just a number 2 guy, that still puts them with 3 really good players. And even Auden Tate, solid. So number 14, I have the Rams. Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Van Jefferson. That's a great 1 through 3. Deshaun Jackson and Tutu Atwell, really good depth there. And I like Tyler Higbee. So the Rams have a really good receiving core. Giants put a lot of effort into their receiving core, and I think they did some success. They paid Kenny Golladay. He's a number 1 guy. He's kind of a fringe number 1 guy, but to me, he is that top 20 guy. Sterling Shepard's good. I love Kadarius Toney. Whenever he gets on the field, I think that'll be a huge aspect. Evan Ingram is good when he catches the ball. Kyle Rudolph is good, period. So a lot of good stuff for the Giants. And then their division rival at 12, the Washington football team. I wanted to have them as tier 2. They feel like a tier 2. They just couldn't make the top 11 cut for me. McLaurin's awesome. Curtis Samuel is really good. I like Adam Humphries, and I like Dimey Brown, the guy who they drafted. Plus, the 2 Sims guys, and then Logan Thomas has been a really good receiving tight end. So there's a lot of guys to like there for Washington. Tier 2, I have San Francisco. Love Deebo Samuel, love Brandon Ayuk. Those are 2 of the real underrated receivers in this game. The third receiver is where things get a little bit tricky, but I think Richie James, Jalen Hurd or Mohamed Sanu, one of those guys will probably step up there. And with George Kittle, he's an elite number 1 guy. He just happens to be a tight end. So I would say you got 3 number 1 receivers there with Samuel, Ayuk, and Kittle. This could easily be a tier 1, honestly, but there's just a lot of talent here. Number 10, Devontae Parker, Will Fuller, Jalen Waddle. Those are a great 1, 2, 3 for the Dolphins. The issue is, will Fuller stay healthy? And plus, the suspension thing, how will that come in? Mike Gesicki, a really good receiver as well, though. So another team put a lot of emphasis in this category and to success. They're a tier 2 now. Also, the Denver Broncos, who put a lot of effort into this last year, adding Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler. Obviously, they still have Cortland Sutton. They drafted Seth Williams, who I like. There's Tim Patrick, who my podcast co-host Kyle is in love with. I think like literally, I think he's in love with him. I think he would marry Tim Patrick if he could. So there's that. I think he's solid. I think he's a good player. Noah Fant, who's another good receiver, which is factoring in here. So a lot of stuff there. The Seahawks, they're a little bit tough because I do like these guys to have 3 solid options. How much do I trust Dwayne Eskridge? I don't know. But you do have DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. So you're tier 2 just with that. I mean, one of the best 1-2 punches in football. Number 7, you got the Buffalo Bills. Stephon Diggs is awesome. We all know that. And you got Sanders. You got Cole Beasley, who, everyone's favorite Cole Beasley. And Gabriel Davis, I think he's better than a wide receiver for sure. So even if Emmanuel Sanders' age starts to show, you got Davis who can come in there. So they should be fine there. And number 6, yes, the Titans are tier 2, which doesn't feel right, but that's where they're at. Julio Jones and A.J. Brown. But the reason why I couldn't put them ahead of some of these other guys is just who else do they have as that number 3 receiver? That's the concern for me. So that's why they're here, even though that 1-2 punch will be fine. I mean, you got Julio Jones. The worst you can be is tier 2 with him alone. And then A.J. Brown, who's awesome as well. So again, doesn't feel right, but there's 5 receiving cores who I figured were better. Number 5, I have the Cleveland Browns with, Odell Beckham Jr., who I think is still very good. I think the reports of Odell Beckham Jr.'s demise greatly exaggerated. I like Jarvis Landry a lot as well. And then you have other guys, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Rashad Higgins. They drafted Anthony Schwartz in the 3rd round. And you got tight ends, Austin Hooper and Harrison Bryant, who are both good receiving tight ends. So a lot of weapons there. Number 4, the Vikings, you do have Thielen and Jefferson, who are, again, great 1-2 combo. And they actually have some depth with Amar Smith-Marset, who I think should be a good number 3, and Irv Smith Jr. At tight end. Number 3, the Chiefs, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill. What more needs to be said? I like Hardman, Robinson, Byron Pringle. They're all fine. Number 2, I do have the Dallas Cowboys here at number 2. You got Mari Cooper, Michael Gallup, and CeeDee Lamb. Those are 3 legit options that, not many other teams can counter here. You got Simi Foko, who was, he had one incredible game and hasn't done much since then. So that got him a 5th round pick. Maybe he can do something. Some solid tight ends as well. And then Tampa Bay, they're just loaded, right? Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, Rob Gronkowski, Scotty Miller. That's a incredible Tyler Johnson. And then, obviously the other tight ends, OJ Howard and Cameron Brate. That's just an incredible amount of weapons. Not only do they have an incredible trio with Evans, Godwin, and Brown, but then you got Scotty Miller and Tyler Johnson for depth, and Miller can take the top off the defense. And then you got Rob Gronkowski, OJ Howard, and Cameron Brate. You can make the argument Cameron Brate is the 3rd best tight end on this team. That's just insane. This is a loaded, weapons grouping, and it's a big reason why they won a Super Bowl last year. So, yeah, that's my rankings. Let me know, why am I an idiot, in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And, of course, as always, thanks for watching.